Welcome back. For the first time in South Africa's democratic history, independent candidates can put their hat in the ring ahead of the elections next year, not only political parties. The law was changed to make provision for independent candidates earlier this year, of course at a national and provincial level. Initially, they were required to get a relatively high number of signatures to contest, but a constitutional court ruling has reduced that number to 1,000. There may be some consequences, though. The Independent Electoral Commission has warned of a long ballot paper and delayed results. To discuss, we're joined by the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer, Masego Sheburi. Mr. Sheburi, thank you for being with us. What are the implications of the Constitutional Court ruling?
Thanks for the opportunity, Francis. The implications are as follows. With each election, the number of contestants increase. However, that does not result in plurality of voice in the National Assembly or in the legislatures. In other words, while the number of contestants increase, the number of parties that are represented in Parliament has plateaued at about 13, 14 political parties. The worry for the Commission is that if you lower requirements to contest, you may invite people who do not have prospects of getting any form of support. And the difficulty is not for election management body. The difficulty are for the voter. We must look at this from the perspective of the voter, because a ballot paper is the only tool that a voter has to identify a candidate or party of their choice, to record their vote for that party or candidate, and for the IEC to translate that vote into representation. If a voter is confronted by an unwieldy ballot paper or a ballot paper that goes to multiple pages, they may inadvertently miscast their ballot or spoil their ballot by making more marks than are required. So that is the concern for the Electoral Commission.
All right, so it becomes complicated, but is it doable? I mean, the highest court in this land, and obviously the people standing for elections, the independents, and many South Africans feel that it is crucial that independent candidates do get a fair shake.
Indeed, the view of the Commission is that every contestant must have a fair share at being to stand for elected office, and if elected, to hold office. We have already finalized our ballot design elements, which take into consideration a number of permutations. For example, we already know that if we have parties in excess of 48 or candidates who are more than 48 in any election, we're going to have to print the ballot in 2 columns. We've never done that in a big election in the country before. And if the number of contestants or parties reach beyond 96, there we are looking already at a ballot in 2 columns, but in multiple pages. So we've already have a sense of how the ballot will look like, and we're just waiting for candidates to meet the requirements to contest, so that we know what permutation of ballots we have to print for the different 19 elections that we'll hold next year.
Yeah, so it sounds like a mini book, and then political parties will be concerned if they're not on page 1. Obviously, it becomes a little bit harder for them to get noticed. And you're also saying that you're going to meet to decide if the elections will take 1 day or 2. So it's possible we could have 2 days of voting for the very first time.
As the law stands, an election is only on 1 day. So unless the law changes, the election will be proclaimed on a single day. So we're going to have to wait to make that work on a single day. We'll increase our staffing, of course. We'll look at our layout of voting stations, and we'll increase our capacity to count the ballots at the level of voting stations, so that we can release the result not later than the 7th day in which we are lawfully required to release results.
What if you feel, though, that it's going to be so slow, the voting process, that it should be over 2 days? Is it possible to request and to change the law in the time period or not?
The Commission is not contemplating changing the law. It is planning on doing what it needs to do within that single day for voting, increasing capacity. Because if you provide for an election over 2 days, there are other consequential risks that you must mitigate. However, there are also cost associated with that. So as we stand, an election will be proclaimed on a single day unless the law is changed.
Final question, when can we expect the proclamation?
The proclamation is made by the President in respect of the National Assembly elections and the Premiers in respect of the legislature elections. The Commission has started consultations as required in law with the Presidency, but those consultations remain indeterminate.
All right, thank you very much for your time. Deputy Chief Electoral Officer Masego Sheburi.